All right, everybody, welcome to Week 5. Going to preview the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Seattle Seahawks. A couple of 3-1 teams here in Week 5. That was a golden boy again by Sam Spence. NFL Films music. And we're going to look right into this with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being 3.5-point underdogs in Seattle. And this is definitely a key game in the NFC right now. We're going to talk about DVOA, Pro Football Focus Analytics. And we're going to talk about when the Bucs have the ball first. So they're 19th in pass rate over expectation. They pass 62%, or the 16th most in the league. Seattle has the lowest pass rate at 48% and second lowest pass rate over expectation. So Seattle runs the ball a lot. But we're going to first look at the Buccaneers O-line because they've had some injuries this year and they're going up against a tough pass rush again. So they have a PFF pass block ranking of 24th. So that's not that great. And they're going to play against Seattle's pass rush, who has been pretty good, top 12 from a PFF ranking. And for the Bucs, pretty much the left side of this offensive line is great. The center and the right side, not so much. Graham Barton's back at center now that Tristan Wirfs is back. You got Wirfs and Bredeson with over a 72 PFF grade, but Barton, Haggard, and Heck are pretty low, all under 57 PFF. And Graham Barton and Charlie Heck are 36 or below PFF pass block grade. So there's definitely some weaknesses on the center and right parts of this Bucs O-line. But Baker's holding up okay. He's had the 6th quickest time average to throw at 2.56 seconds. So he's releasing the ball pretty quickly to mitigate that pressure while this underperforming O-line has not been doing its job. And that's good because Baker, he's going up against his 12th ranked pass rush for Seattle. And I'll tell you what, Baker has been much better when he's kept clean. He drops from a 76 PFF grade when clean to 52 when under pressure. He's also been great against the zone, which Seattle does a lot of zone about 80% of the time with Mike McDonald. They've had a good defense, surprisingly playing heavy zone. But it can happen when you play disciplined and you have a good pass rush like they have. But something has to give in this game. And it reminds me of the Houston game. Baker's been playing excellent, but the offensive line has been injured. The Bucs scrapped for 20 points in that game. And you know what? They had Mike Evans and Bucky Irving in that game. Now they don't. But they do have Godwin. And Rashad White has been definitely really serviceable. And I think that'll help the Bucs here. But I think this Seattle defense is just going to be too much, especially on the road for Baker. He keeps losing weapon after weapon. But at the same time, I do think Tampa Bay can hang in here. And we talk about against Houston and Philly, those top 5 pass rushes with PFF grade. Baker was still able to put up points and make the game competitive. This week, though, like I said, he won't have Bucky Irving or Mike Evans, but he's going to have Godwin in his second week back. Rashad White is capable backup with Sean Tucker mixing in. Pro Football Reference actually ranks Seattle as the 7th most pressure defense this season, even more so than Philly and Houston, which is interesting. But Seattle doesn't blitz a lot, so that's one thing to consider. They kind of can get that pressure. They do have some injuries on defense this week, but I got to say their replacements are all pretty good. Like DeMarcus Lawrence at defensive end is out. However, his backup, Hall, has been even better at rushing the passer and almost as good against the run. Seattle has that defensive depth this year, let me tell you, with Witherspoon and Love being out at cornerback and safety. They're going to get the other safeties, Nick Emmanwori back, who's been about average in coverage, better against the run, but not horrible at safety. And Darion Kendrick, who is going to play corner this week. He's been excellent in pass coverage, so Seattle has a lot of depth. So things won't be easy for the Bucs. And when you look at DVOA as well, Seattle is number one DVOA defense. I mean, even better than Cleveland, about minus 20%. Cleveland's at like minus 16%, so they're really playing well. Number two with pass defense DVOA, and number three with rush defense DVOA. And the Bucs still use 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver set at about 70%. They utilize that against Philadelphia as well, even without Evans. They use a multifaceted approach when they run the ball, a mix of rushing styles, not just power, not just outside zone. And like I said, Seattle plays a lot of zone on defense. So what Bucs are good against zone? Well, Mike Evans is out. He wasn't that great against zone this year. He was doing decent, better against man. But Egbuka, who's had a great year, he has a 76.4 PFF grade against zone, and he's just been excellent. His grade drops to 50.3 against man, so this is his kind of matchup. He should have an excellent week. But for all that optimism, wait a second. Seattle is number one DVOA against wide receiver ones, so it won't be easy this week. This is, again, sort of like a something has to give kind of game. Unstoppable object against an immovable force kind of thing, right? Where you've got the good offenses going up against the pretty good defenses here. Tampa Bay, I'll get to their defense in a little bit too. They impressed me on defense because their pro football focus grades aren't super high, but their DVOA is higher. And I'll get to that in a second, defensively. We'll also, because we're going to stick with the Bucs offense, like Chris Godwin historically has been great against zone, but he just has a 52.9 grade against the Eagles last week playing zone. But, he had Cooper DeJean. Philly's been known for covering short passes well. And it was his first game back from like a year off. So it's going to take some time for this guy. I say give him like 3 or 4 games. I think around 5th or 6th game he's going to be really good again. But it's going to take him a month or two. And that's just my opinion there. But Chris Godwin here, yeah, he's historically good against zone but hasn't played too well yet. And Seattle is also good against number 2 wide receivers. They are 5th best against that. So, I mean, they're really good in their coverage right now. So it won't get easier for Chris Godwin. But he is a real X factor because if he all of a sudden turns on the Jets this week, like it was a Cooper DeJean thing, he got 10 targets last week, so he could be big, but I don't see it yet. Give this guy a few more weeks. Tough matchup, especially with that pass rush that Seattle has. And Shepard and White, 68 and 65 PFF grades against zone. So they're going to be okay. They're going to help move the ball a little bit. I like Rachaad White in this game as a receiver because Seattle's top 10 DVOA against wide receiver threes and even against tight ends, top 10. But Cade Otton, he really hasn't done much this year against zone as a receiver. But where you can beat Seattle in the pass game is to running backs. They are more beatable there. They are more so like bottom 10. So I like Rachaad White here a lot. Quick, short passes. He's good against zone. Tampa Bay is going to need someone to do something offensively, especially if Seattle schemes are on covering Egbuka and if Godwin's still kind of slowed up. And, what has this also kind of meant for Tampa Bay? That they've been a little bit hampered on offense with their offensive line, receivers, everything like that. They are top 5 in field goal attempts per game this season. Last 3 games, they've had 3.3 field goal attempts per game. So I like McLaughlin. I was souring on him a few weeks ago when he was missing kicks, but he really caught fire against Philly and lately. And Seattle is allowing about 2.8 field goal attempts per game on the season. So that stout defense Seattle has, that zone coverage, kind of bend but don't break, allowing for yards between the 20s. But overall, a good defense. I think that's going to help Tampa Bay's field goal chances here, especially with how Baker is showing he can still deliver against a good pass rush and a good defense when he's getting rid of the ball quickly. Rachaad White also has a 4.7 yard per carry, so he can still run the ball pretty well. But again, Seattle's tops, like top 10, top 12 in pretty much every defensive category with Pro Football Reference. With Pro Football Focus and DVOA. But I'll tell you what, Emmanwori and White are set to get more red zone looks. Those were completely dominated by Mike Evans and Bucky Irving. So that's interesting to see here. But in my prediction I don't think the Bucs will be scoring a lot of touchdowns in this game. And the Bucs are 16th in run blocking, 5th in rushing in PFF, but that was with Bucky, of course. And I mentioned White has the 4.7 yards per carry. He's as good as a receiver, too. The Bucs have the 10th PFF receiving grade, but yes, Evans is out now. Godwin's back. That's mostly a Mecca. Tampa Bay, they have the 5th worst red zone offense. Seattle is a top 6 red zone defense. So that kind of makes sense with the field goal attempt and field goal attempt allowed, right? And it doesn't help that Tampa Bay doesn't have Evans or Irving who are confident in the red zone at all. So I like the under here. I like under 47.5 to tease that up. And Seattle plus 3.5 or so, even more. You could do plus 7.5 if you get a good number. But I don't think the Bucs are going to win this game by much. I think Seattle's going to win. But, of course, in a nice teaser, the Bucs could win this game close, but with some heroics like the Texans game. But I definitely think Seattle, if they lose, they're going to keep this thing close, and they should win. And I think it should be lower scoring based on what I said about Tampa Bay and the good Seattle defense. And Seattle's average scoring with their red zone offense for touchdowns, and Tampa Bay is just average for their touchdown defense allowance in the red zone. So far, like McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals. White, if you have a low number on the receiving yards, like 15 plus receiving yards or like 2 plus receptions, I know sometimes they jack those up. But receiving yards can get scary because I like White more to have receptions. But if Seattle really clamps down on him, on their defense, might be tough to get more yards, but they are allowing more to running backs in the pass game. So I like White here to get like his 15 plus receiving yards, 2 or 3 catches, but it could be a bigger game than that. Seattle plus 3.5, plus 7.5. Because the Bucs, when they've had injuries on their O-line, like they have significantly, and depleted offense, like with Evans out, they've either lost and almost got blown out to Philly, or they won by a point against Houston. So I don't know, if the Bucs win, I think it's going to be a nail-biter, a low-scoring nail-biter like the Houston game. Tampa Bay's 11th in pace, Seattle 14th, so nothing too crazy there. And we will get to the Seattle offense next. And so when we start on the Seattle offense, the Bucs defense is bottom half of the league in every category with PFF. So it's getting tough for this banged-up offense here for the Bucs to keep up. But kind of the caveat to that is Tampa Bay is number 9 in DVOA defense. So they're holding up okay. That's why I like to look at DVOA and PFF grades, because it can be a little, sometimes they agree, sometimes it can be a little different, and you get 2 perspectives. Tampa Bay is the 18th best pass defense DVOA, so not great, but not horrible there. The number 1 rush defense DVOA. Okay, so that's a much better grade than the PFF grade. So that could make things harder for Walker and Charbonnet for Seattle. So that's why I more and more lean to an under on this game, like under 47.5 in a teaser sounds really good. And Seattle runs more than any other team, so if Tampa Bay can contain them somewhat, that'll hurt the Seattle offense about half the time, because they run the ball around half the time. And then the Bucs are going to have to contain JSN, and it's not going to be easy to do. And I thought, like, okay, this should be a huge JSN game, but not so fast. Despite their pass defense, they've been number 4 best at limiting wide receiver 1 DVOA. And that's an impressive change from the past. They made a couple good draft picks this offseason to strengthen their corners as well, get some depth there. And they're playing more man defense. Bulls, I commend Bulls because they're playing less of that soft zone, which drove me nuts. And I think Probably cost the Bucs like a playoff win or Super Bowl here and there with Brady. And because they were so much better with man defense, in my opinion, and teams could just torch them with zone, but whatever. And it's an impressive change from the past. It's about a 60-40 mix now. So they're still playing a good amount of zone, but they're just playing a little less. They're playing a little more man. Darnold's been like okay versus man or zone. It was tough to kind of read into that data there, but he's been excellent this year. I'm going to get into him in a second. Horton and Kupp, Seattle's like number 2 and 3 receivers. Like Kupp is really wide receiver 2. It kind of reminds me of the Arizona game where like teams are starting to key in on like we need to stop JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. And they kind of did that, all intents and purposes, but it could lead to a bigger game for Horton and Kupp. Just a few more looks. They've been okay against zone. JSN has been excellent against zone, but he's even better against man. So even if the Bucs are trying to play more man here, he's still been excellent this year, so he's going to get his. But maybe the Bucs can contain him just enough to make this so JSN doesn't like go off and have a huge game, kind of like with the Arizona game. Seattle's offense is 6th best DVOA, 2nd best passing, 19th best in rushing. So it's like, yeah, maybe they should pass the ball more. Or maybe that the balance is just establishing their run to help their pass game. Darnold is a bit quicker release to this year. So that's helping his game. And I'm calling it, like the career renaissance is real for Darnold. I'm trying to look at these underlying metrics. Like at first I thought like, yeah, same old Darnold. Like I didn't want to take any fantasy players in the few leagues that I do or anything like that with Seattle because I was just like this. I kind of was like, this guy sucks. Like he had all those weapons in Minnesota, but no, he was good in Minnesota. I mean, 14-2, you can't really do that as a bad quarterback unless you have like the best defense of all time and the best running back or something. So, I mean, he's good. And he's definitely improved a lot. He's been generally accurate. I'll tell you some more numbers on him because like the Bucs blitz at the 3rd rate, and you could say, maybe Bowles and the Bucs can really blitz Seattle, get to him this week. They had an injury on their offensive line, but the backup was like not much different, if not better, Cross for Seattle. I think Jones is out and Cross has been expected to fill in. So Seattle has depth there too. Pretty balanced, pretty solid offensive line. Kind of like a healthier Tampa Bay's, but about top 10 offensive line there. And Darnold has been excellent when clean, 90-plus PFF grade. And under pressure, he's still good at 73. So that's definitely what I would call a career renaissance. And I have Baker's numbers too here under pressure. I forgot to tell you earlier, but I want to just get that in here. No, I did. Yes, 76 PFF to 52 PFF under pressure. Whereas Darnold, he has been excellent under pressure still. I'll say he's good under pressure, excellent when clean. 73 PFF grade under pressure, which is good. And against blitz, he's good. Or when he's not blitzed, he's in the upper 80s PFF grade, which is really good. So Darnold, credit to him. He's been excellent across the board. And I mentioned about some of those receivers on Seattle. And, so Seattle's also splitting red zone carries between Walker and Charbonnet. So that's tricky there. It's good in real life, not for fantasy football. But again, something has to give. The Bucs are the number 1 DVOA rush defense, despite PFF not liking their rush defense as much. So, again, I think the way Bucs can play this is trying to stop JSN and stopping the run as best they can. So I think this should be a lower scoring game. I think Seattle will be able to break off a few chunk runs here and there. It does remind me of the Houston game, except now you don't have Mike Evans. You don't have Bucky Irving. I like White. I really like White. I really think he's like 1A and 1B. Like he's looked really good. But it's too bad because Bucky looked excellent last week before he got hurt. But you don't have Evans. You just have Godwin, who's just not there yet. If Godwin was full strength, maybe like 5 weeks from now, if he can get it together and get healthy and back up to steam, I would take Tampa Bay in like a playoff game at home here. But because Godwin's not there yet and Seattle's been playing so well, I think regression hits again for the Bucs and they lose. I think Seattle wins this 24-19, and I'm calling 4 field goals for McLaughlin. Yeah. And so I'm going to also go over all my picks so far. Again, I don't advise these crazy parlays, but I'll tell you, it's really fun. Like if you have like $1 as like a bonus bet, it's crazy. Like if you analyze these games a lot, these are so hard to hit, but I've come close on some of these and I feel like I'm getting better at it, where you almost want to do like a giant teaser parlay with props and games. So let me just tell you what I have across these games as a recap so far, because this might be all I do for this weekend's games. It gets kind of tiring, but I do like it, and I want to get better at this. But let's see. So far I have Vikings and Browns under 45.5, Judkins 50-plus rushing yards, Aubrey over 1.5 field goals for the Dallas game, Pickens 60-plus receiving yards in that game, Javonte Williams 50-plus rushing yards, over 43.5. Now again, all these are juice, but it can add up. Ferguson 30-plus receiving yards. That's like all Dallas has been since Lamb went down is Pickens and Ferguson, and the Jets haven't shown anything on their pass defense or pass rush. This one's a little more risky. Fields 200-plus passing yards, but I'd say maybe take more like 175 or 150. But he's hit that his last 2 games with Pittsburgh and Miami against zone defenses, and Dallas has been bad in their secondary. 30-plus rushing yards for Fields because he's had 40-plus against Pittsburgh and Miami. So maybe take 20-plus if you want to be really conservative. Breece Hall over 50-plus rushing yards. I like that. He's been – obviously Braylon Allen is out, and Breece has been playing really well. Dallas got completely gashed by Josh Jacobs. Breece has been hitting that number as long as the Jets kind of stay in games. But I'd say the Fields one and the Breece one are my least confident there. That's why I just juice those down. But I still like them. I think this game is going to be one of the highest scoring games of the week. And then Garrett Wilson, 50 to 60-plus receiving yards with touchdown upside. Definitely touchdown upside for Pickens, too, with how the Jets are the worst, one of the worst in the league at covering deep passes. The Raiders-Colts game, Schrader for 2-plus field goals. Guys, we could just do a kicker parlay this week. I'm telling you, Schrader, McLaughlin, and Aubrey, those 3 guys for 2-plus field goals. They have excellent matchups against teams allowing a lot of field goal attempts. And I really like them this week. Right. And then Jonathan Taylor, 60-plus rushing yards, touchdown upsides, over 43.5, Indy in Vegas. As crazy as these plays are, as long as you can back it with data, it has more of a chance. So it's a fun time with this. Giants game, Cam Skadaboo, 50-plus rushing yards. He's been hitting that. Great matchup here. Saints' worst tackling team with Pro Football Focus. Giants plus 3.5 or plus 7.5. Saints could get this done at home, but I don't think they will. But if they do, I think they'll kind of barely win this game or not by more than a touchdown. The Giants are actually playing really well with their backups here. Robinson, 30-plus receiving yards. I like him a lot this week. If you listen to my Giants podcast, I mentioned that against zone, and he just needs to fill in for Neighbors like those targets. Good matchup, too, with the Saints' zone defense. And then I got McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals, Seattle plus 3.5 or plus 7.5, under 47.5 for Seattle, Tampa Bay. White, 2 or 3 plus receptions. You could throw maybe 10, 15 plus receiving yards in there, too, if they offer it. Michael Carter for Arizona, I love this guy this week. He, like Rachaad White, when he's had an opportunity, he's played well in the past, and the Titans have the worst DVOA rush defense. So he's a good guy to fire up in a GPP as well, especially at the minimum price. And I think he kind of leaked to the media that made it sound like he's going to start. But Amari DiMercado might work in there too, of course. And then the Arizona money line. I don't like the Titans yet, but they're so crazy. Hopefully Arizona could win this. And then Detroit -2.5 or -3. Again, like it's probably going to be like -500 or -700, but I like it. The Bengals have been horrible. The Lions have been great. It is on the road, though. Lions are a little less effective on the road, but the Bengals really haven't shown much at all with Browning. And I still feel like Detroit should win this game, but I got to look into that game more. And then also the Miami-Carolina game, I feel like it's either going to be Achane or Waddle having a big game for Miami. Achane got a lot of usage last week, a lot of rushing yards against the Jets when Hill went down. But he also is excellent in the pass game. So it depends like what kind of game this will be. There's so many outcomes here. Like Carolina blew out Atlanta at home. And that was crazy because Miami kind of has that sort of an offense, like a couple good weapons. But I think Tua has been better than Penix this year. And then the one Tyreek Hill game where he was out against the Jets, I believe in 2023, I looked this up, the Dolphins won 30-0. Now, this was a team with Mostert and Achane, but Hill was out, and Waddle went ozone that game. He had a huge game. So Waddle could be a sleeper this week, especially because Carolina's bottom 10 against wide receiver ones. But then they really contain Drake London, too. So this game has a wide range of outcomes. Also, shout out Dalton of PFF. He mentioned on his weekly game podcast with Trevor that something like Achane is really good at off-tackle runs, like outside zone rushing, and Carolina's really bad at that. So Miami could go that route and just hand him the rock a lot in this game, so he could be a really good play for over on like 50-plus rushing yards. But that's just, I'm not too sure about that. That could go either way. And yeah, that's about it. That'll probably be all I do for this weekend, guys. Give me a like if you can. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe. Trying to get those likes and subscribes up. And let's see what we can do. I hit a small parlay last weekend. I believe it was like 10 games. It was probably like 14-1. I just teased like a lot of games. I took like Bills -5.5, James Cook 50+ rushing yards. I think I took Giants +10.5, and they won the game. And just some plays like that. I think I took like Detroit in Denver -2.5. I took the Jets +7.5, and I was lucky that they hit that teaser. The more I looked into it, I probably would have taken Miami like +7.5 or +3.5. But these get tough. Even like the Dallas and Jets game, I feel like that could go either way. But I'm more confident in Dallas covering +7.5 than like the Jets. But these can get sneaky, especially like the Vikings and Browns game too. I feel like I was going to take like Browns to cover this game, which I actually still might. But we've seen two range of outcomes that are crazy with Minnesota. Like they destroyed Cincinnati, but then they were down big to Pittsburgh. They were really lucky to get that +3.5 cover. So these are things you have to consider. Trying to think what else. Yeah, last week I also took Chiefs +7.5. So you kind of look at these games like, yeah, like I could have just taken Chiefs -2.5 and it's fun, but it's really nice being like, oh, they can lose by 7 at home. Probably not going to happen at home against the Ravens in a desperation spot. And it's even more fun when they win big. But I'd rather like take a few of these more conservative shots. And again, guys, they're not slam dunks. Sometimes you say, I was so pissed. Like I think I was 9 for 10 to win like $1,000 with maybe a $25 bet or something with a couple weeks ago. And they all hit sort of with this mentality. I took like Atlanta +3.5 or +6.5 because I remember at the time, like Bryce Young had never beat an NFL opponent by more than like 6 points. And I told one of my buddies about it, and I was like, the one friggin' time Bryce Young covers 6.5 in an NFL game or something like that. So it's just crazy. These things can happen. But we do have a little more data now. But you just got to remember that, like, be careful of that fallacy, too, of just, like, jumping to conclusions like, oh, yeah, this team's going to do this. Kind of like the Detroit game. Like, I got to look into that more, even though I think they'll win. But sometimes you get into trouble when you get lazy like that. You don't cover all the games. Like, kind of like the Buffalo game. If you say, oh, Buffalo's going to beat New England. But if you look into it more, maybe we'll find some tidbits about that game where we're like, oh, yeah, Patriots are going to cover 10.5 here. Or, oh, no, I really like Buffalo money line because of XYZ on the O-line or how they're running things. But it's fun, guys. I'm learning a lot. Hope you are too. And be safe, have fun, and good luck, everybody, as Adam Levitan says, one of the idols. All right, take it easy, guys.